Time to close out our tour of the Shimosa servants with a bang. I hope you're all sitting down for this. Hello everyone, Sobro of G&D Reviews here, and in today's Servant Spotlight we'll be taking a look at yet another stylish older gentleman. Seriously, what is it with EOR and these badass old men? Yagyu Munenori. We'll be examining his stats and skills, as well as going over pointers at how to utilize him effectively and an overall grade, comparing him to how he stacks up to the other 4-star servants. Now, onto Yagyu's stats. Yagyu has a max HP of 11,135 and a max attack of 9,999, just one shy of the big 10-0. His HP stat is very low for a 4-star saber, only Lily herself is lower, but to compensate he does pack a very high attack stat. Compared to all the other 4-star servants at large, he holds up pretty much the same. Very low HP, but among the upper echelon of attackers. His stats are good overall for an offensive servant, although his low HP does make him vulnerable to big hits. Taking a look at his skills, his first skill is Shinkage Ryu, rank A++. It increases his arch card effectiveness for one turn between 30 and 50% depending on level. It also increases his critical star gather rate for his arch cards for one turn between 300 and 500%, also depending on level, and it increases his debuff resist for one turn by 100%. His second skill is Suigetsu rank B. It applies evade for one turn and increases his attack for one turn between 10 and 20% depending on level. And finally, his last skill is Mutoodori, rank A, which decreases the attack of one enemy for one turn between 30 and 50%, and increases his own NP gain for one turn between 30 and 50%, both depending on level. As for passives, he has Magic Resistance rank C, which increases his debuff resist by 15%, and Riding rank B, which increases his quick card effectiveness by 8%. Moving on to his deck and Noble Phantasm, Yagyu has an Arts Buster deck with Quick, Arts Buster Buster, and an Arts Noble Phantasm. His Noble Phantasm is Kenjutsu Musou Kenzin Ichinyo, which deals significant damage to a single enemy with between a 900 and 1500% damage modifier, depending on level, and it also decreases their attack for 3 turns between 20 and 60%, depending on overcharge. Taking a closer look at his cards, we see that his quick card hits 4 times, his arts hits twice, his buster hits 1 time, and his extra attack hits 4 times. He has an NP gain rate of 0.81% and a star rate of 10.3%. Overall, he does have some strong NP gain due to his high NP gain rate and arts focused skill set, but just average star generating from one quick card. He may not be a sexy robo-mom or a lewd drunk Oni, but don't despair just yet, because Yagyu still has a lot to offer. For one thing, he packs a pretty impressive attack stat for a saber, right up there with Saber Alter. He also has phenomenal NP gain thanks in large part to his skills. His first skill, Shinkage Ryu, grants him a huge 50% buff to his arts cards, as well as a 500% star weight buff for his arts cards and 100% debuff resist. A common theme you're going to notice with Yagyu is that all of his abilities have both a defensive and offensive component. On the offensive side, this skill is top tier. It's a full-on arts mana burst and a crit star gather rate buff exclusively for your arts cards. The Star Gather buff is especially strong because it guarantees that the stars are going to flow to your arts card where they're going to be the most useful, rather than your quick. And that makes it much easier and more consistent to set up NP spam combos. On the defensive side of things, this skill gives a turn of practical debuff immunity, which is good in some scenarios, but it's very niche. 99.9% of the time, you're going to want to use this skill offensively to buff your Noble Phantasm or to supercharge your NP gauge. Yagyu's second skill, Suigetsu, is a standard evade that also gives a small attack buff for a turn. Unlike your first skill, you're primarily going to be using this for defense because the attack buff isn't all that great. It's just 20%, which is akin to a very localized charisma. The evade, however, is great because it grants good survivability despite Yagyu's low HP. And if your second skill happens to be on cooldown, you can still depend on your third skill, Mutoodori, for another bit of great defensive utility. This skill lowers an enemy's attack by half and increases your NP gain rate significantly. This is one of the better NP gain skills in the game. When coupled with Yagyu's already good natural NP gain, this makes charging your Noble Phantasm gauge very easy and fast. The attack down is also a very useful tool, however, especially when used in conjunction with your Noble Phantasm. Unlike your previous two skills, this skill is a lot more versatile, and when you decide to use it, is very dependent on the situation that you're in. All of Yagyu's skills are top tier, but you should absolutely level Shikage Ryu first because it's a hyper steroid that provides excellent setup, followed by Mutodori for more utility, and then finally Suigetsu for the lower cooldown. Yagyu's Noble Phantasm is a single target arts attack that also lowers the enemy's attack by a sizable amount. This may seem like a very straightforward Noble Phantasm, but much like his skills, there are multiple angles to it. On the offensive side, this Noble Phantasm does a whole hell of a lot of damage. Even without an NP interlude, this Noble Phantasm easily outdamages every other 4-star saber, and it even rivals a couple of the 5-star sabers with single target Noble Phantasms. This is mostly due to the Hyper Art steroid on his first skill. I mentioned this in a few spotlights, but usually whenever a single target servant has a mana burst like skill, their Noble Phantasm will do devastating damage. But damage is not all. On the defensive end of things, this Noble Phantasm has ridiculous utility because it can apply a powerful attack down debuff. This attack down stacks with your third skill, so at minimum you can reduce an enemy's damage by 70%, but you can easily push it to 100% and have enemies doing 0 damage to your team. Also note that the debuff lasts for 3 turns, and Yagyu is capable of NP spamming easily thanks to his arts crits, which means having a perma-stacking attack down on an enemy boss is very doable. The attack down spam also means that Yagyu has amazing synergy with defense buffing servants, which are exceedingly common in arts teams. Yagyu is a servant with ultimate defense and offense. Offensively, he outdamages every other 4-star saber with his nuke of a Noble Phantasm, and he's a reliable arts crit servant, so even his basic attacks are going to hurt. Defensively, he not only has hard survival and evade, but he can also drastically increase your entire team's overall survivability with his attack down debuffs. Simply put, Yagyu is not only strong, but he's also one of the most versatile and high utility servants in the game. But this high skill ceiling is a double-edged sword. While his skills are flexible, they're also very difficult to utilize well without proper setup. He's a tough servant to master, and one mistimed skill can easily lead to severe punishment. To further highlight this weakness, Yagyu has big cooldown issues. All of his skills only last a single turn, so mistiming a skill can be devastating because you have very limited uses. One other area that Yagyu does struggle in is in fights with multiple big enemies. If you're up against 2 or 3 bosses at once, his kit becomes a lot less versatile because it's all single target. The best place to utilize Yagyu is in arts teams. He doesn't really fit anywhere else, but thankfully within an arts team, he does have a good range and can perform many roles. If you're using him offensively, you're going to want to always make sure that you have an art support who can provide crit stars like Caster Gil, Mozart, or Shuten. Gil is king of star generators for arts teams, and he also has a plethora of complementary buffs for Yagyu, making him a very good choice if you want to do damage. Mozart is a great budget option as he also has a mini arts mana burst that he can use while Yagyu's is on cooldown, and he can star bomb for guaranteed arts crits. He can also lower enemy attack, so there's great synergy there as well. Shuten can do a decent job of star generating, and she also has a ton of debuffs to complement Yagyu's. For more challenging battles, you can also use Yagyu to great effect in stall teams alongside servants like Mosh, Edison, and Jean. Mosh's defense buffs work perfectly with Yagyu's attack down debuffs to completely nullify most damage. Jean has the benefit of both invincibility and a heal, but she also lowers enemies' Noble Phantasm strength, which again complements Yagyu's attack down. And finally, Edison provides stars, and he can also increase the effects of your own attack down by overcharging your Noble Phantasm. In emergencies, he can also NP seal enemies. Yagyu's Bondcraft Essence is double tiered Casa. It buffs all allies' arts card effectiveness and NP damage by 10%. This is a solid Bondcraft Essence to use if you have it. If you're going to be going on the offensive, any craft essence that boosts your crit damage and NP gain is an optimal choice. So Another Ending, Summer Little, Trick or Treatment, or Fulmocraft all fit the bill. If you're going to be on a stall team, you can go with more utility-based craft essences that grant stars, or starting Noble Phantasm like Fox Knight's Dream, His Rightful Place, Dive to Blue, and Magical Girl of Sapphire. For the future, you should be on the lookout for Welcome Bunny, because it boosts your arts card effectiveness, crit damage, and it generates stars, making Yagyu a lot more self-sufficient. Overall, Yagyu is without a doubt a servant who offers tremendous value. His damage is top tier, his skills are flexible for both offense and defense, he can be extremely tanky in the right scenarios, he has incredible synergy with most art servants, and he's just one of the best straight up boss killers in the game. However, don't expect to just pick him up and use him without putting in the work. He is a very difficult servant to master, and thus not very beginner friendly. He also has big cooldown issues, and he can struggle whenever there's more than one big enemy on screen, which does happen frequently. Still though, it's just hard to deny his tremendous strength and flexibility, so he gets a much deserved A+ from me. He's a strong asset to any arts team that he's in, and he can single-handedly trivialize many tough battles and challenge quests, plus he's good for late game story content as well. And those are my thoughts on Yagyu, but what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. And if you haven't already, do check out my other spotlights for the Shimosa servants. They're linked all on screen and down in the description below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing if you really enjoyed this video. Join the party over our Discord, chill with us on Twitch, and follow us on Twitter. And I'll see you all in the next servant spotlight. Soberoni out. Later.